Hey everybody, welcome back to the official European League of Football podcast. I'm your host, Nick Alfieri, aka Nauf. Today we've got the hometown hero, Jan Weinreich, the German-born quarterback who is currently playing for the Stuttgart Surge. Now, Jan played in the ELF in 2021 and 2022 for the Cologne Centurions, and a lot of people were excited to see him come back to the league this year, just a few weeks ago, to join the Stuttgart Surge. He's had quite a bit of success starting off so far. We sat down and had a great conversation. I know a lot of people are excited about him being back in the league. Without further ado, Jan Weinreich. All right, man. Appreciate you coming on the podcast, Jan.
Appreciate you having me.
Yeah.
Am I the first non-American on it as well?
You know what? You are. Wow, look
See?
at that. Look at that.
See?
Congrats.
Yeah.
Wow, trendsetter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I hope you gotta have more.
Yeah, we're gonna have some more. We're gonna have some more German guys and European guys, but who better to start it off than you?
Appreciate it.
Yeah. What was your nickname again?
Ballschmeißer, the ball thrower. The ball thrower. As you can't translate positions in football.
Right.
You know.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of people, when people ask me, it's like, what position do you play? It's like quarterback. It's like, what does it say in German? It's like, it's the guy who throws the ball thrower, Ballschmeißer.
So that's how you got that nickname?
Well, I got the nickname actually because it's like, we look for funny names for like, because we always said, we always said, das ist ein guter catch, that's it. And you always use the English word, and then we just, out of fun, we said, we used the German word, and then we discussed what the real German word for throwing would be.
Yeah.
And we just, it's like, werfen, it's like the real name, but then we said, no, let's use schmeißen. And actually number 18, Yannick Novak, was the backup quarterback for the Centurions, and he came up with it, like, it's called schmeißen. I said, well, then I'm the ball thrower, Ballschmeißer. And when we did the documentary, out of fun with my friend, he said, that's how we should call it. I think it's like a catchy name, funny name. And hey, it's actually newspapers.
Really?
When I signed
That's how you
with
know
the
it's
Surge,
legit, yeah.
when I signed with the Surge, people said like, Jan Weinreich, and then like in Marx, the Ballschmeißer. I'm like, all right, man. I called my friends like, hey, it's legit. It's legit.
This is great branding. This is good marketing for you as a brand. I like that a lot. So this is an exciting time right now for you. We got to kind of set the scene a little bit because you played in the ELF in 2021 and 2022 for the Cologne Centurions, and you retired after this year. Correct? After the 2022 season?
People said I retired, but
okay.
If you like, let's say I watched closely, I never said I retired. I just said I'm not coming back to play football for Cologne, but I never called it never called it off. I never felt also that it's gonna be my last football game and played my last football. So people thought I was retired, but I wasn't really retired. I also didn't say I have a team talking to or like I'm gonna play. I just said, hey, I'm not gonna play for Cologne. And this then makes it more difficult for me to play, and then I just waited for something to happen.
Interesting. Basically. Okay, because I was under the impression that you had just officially retired, but no, it wasn't exactly this. So, all right, we'll talk a little bit more about this sort of off season in a second, but I do want to wind it back to 2021. This is the first season of the European League of Football, and you're playing for the Cologne Centurions, and you are, I believe, the only German or non-American quarterback starting in the league at this time. Is that correct?
I started also as a backup again. We had Nick Farley as the quarterback, and Nick was frankly saying older quarterback, and who came in because they needed someone local who's also not too expensive, and we had a running offense anyway. And Coach Drain called me, and that was when I really was retired. I was like, you know what? I'm only backup. No one respects me just because I'm a German. I felt like in a lot of spots I've been in, could have played. The Americans weren't performing too well, but I just didn't get the chance just because I was a German. Really, just because people were like not trusting me. And I said, you know what? If no one gives me a shot, why should they give me one now? I'm 23 years old. I just call it quits and focus on other things that been amazing as well. Opened up another world to me. But then Drain called and said, we're doing this new thing, the ELF. It's this and this and this and this. And really, you should try it on. I said no. I said no. I said no. I said, I want to be like a scout or let me be a coach. And he said, no, if you come here, you got to play.
Yeah.
And just one day I was thinking about it. I said, I'm going to go up to his office and ask what this thing will be and explain it to me. I said, well, you know what, if I'm going to play again, this is what I want to play for. And I felt like this is the first time I'm really going to get a fair shot of competing against the American. Him not being the, coming new out of D1 college or whatever, like he knew the situation. And when we then got Marjorie London as a running back, and then we got Quinton Pounds as a receiver. We didn't get a second American defense. That's when I felt like, okay, they invested. And then the first game we should have had a position battle.
Right.
Nick should play the first half. I should play the second half. Or he should play the first quarter. I had the second quarter.
Right.
it ended up that he threw 2 picks, which weren't really his fault, but in a position battle, the coach took him out. Yeah. And from that moment on, I took over, and now we're kind of like sitting here.
Wow, man. Okay, this is cool. I didn't know this at all. This is really cool to hear kind of your background in it. Have you always felt, for a quick question, when did you start playing football?
When I was 9 years old.
9 years old. Did you start playing quarterback right then?
Never played something else.
Really? Always a quarterback?
I was a pretty legit defensive end in my last 14 years. Like I played some D end, but played both ways. But that was the only year and then in high school, when I was a backup QB in Florida, I played some tight end. Yeah. So I just get on the field, but apart from that, never really, just like sometimes, but never, always played quarterback, always been a quarterback.
And that is fascinating. Okay, so did you always then, once you kind of got into these kind of more professional German seasons here, like with the ELF, did you always feel that people maybe there was a stigma of you being a German as a quarterback? You kind of alluded to it a little bit. People always think, oh, you can only have an American quarterback. You can't have a German play quarterback and be successful, which you proved to be not true, especially with the first season with Cologne in 2021. I mean, you guys made it to the playoffs.
Yeah, I think I'm lucky because I didn't have to prove it anymore. He played with Marco Ehrenfried, and I think he proved it all, and he proved to everybody that it's like, of course it's possible, because he basically won every game he played and was stat leader in the GFL. You know, like a lot of people say, well, this is surrounding. I say it's every quarterback. Every quarterback's success is his surrounding. Absolutely. So we just got to put a team together and put people around, and then if you have great characters, people who stay calm, people who take responsibility and able of it, of course he can play quarterback. Right. And physically, I think we're, of course, capable of doing it. I think in the ELF it turned down a little. I don't know why. I think the stigma in the GFL was more, because I think it was more old people sitting in their jobs, doing the things they always did, never under pressure. Like a lot of coaches could just stick with their jobs, and there was nobody above them telling them, hey, why didn't you try this? Not a lot of change, just because they always done it a certain way. So I felt in the ELF, when everything started new and it was like a new beginning, I felt actually people supported me much more for being a German. Like people rooted for me and like said, like, you know, with me we can actually win. There's still some people like saying, and like I see it sometimes saying, well, with German you can't win because this and yada yada yada. But I think it's those old heads from like 40, 50 years old from back in the days who just don't really were around football that much anymore. So back again, shorten up. I don't think I had to prove anything. I felt like Marco proved it all. And so it's now my time to just prove to myself that I can do it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Okay, yeah, that's cool. I mean, for those who don't know, Marco Ehrenfried, he was one of the most successful German quarterbacks ever.
Successful quarterback, I say it. The successful
German quarterback. So he sort of kind of paved the way in a way, or kind of set the example that, hey, you could be successful with a German quarterback. Okay, do you feel then a little bit of an extra pressure? I feel like when you have a German quarterback, then they're, like you said, some of these people, maybe they're the old heads and people who can't really see the future or the innovation of the game. These people have a little bit, or there's a little bit more pressure on you as a German. Because I know, you know, if you throw a pick as a German quarterback, perhaps that there's just people are going to react differently. They're going to go, well, why don't we just have an American quarterback?
Yeah. I feel it as well, but I think that kind of pressure you just take to yourself, because if you really watch it, American quarterbacks have the same pressure, because if you're an American quarterback, they just switch you like that. So it's kind of the same. You do that. You pressure yourself with certain things, and the pressure really comes from the game, from the challenge that is faced in front of you. Like, you know, the defenses, the defense coordinators, the pressure you face, maybe injuries you have, and as a quarterback, as I said before, you're only usually as good as your team are. So if you are banged up offensive line, you have to worry about, okay, how do I get the ball off earlier? How can I perform with this situation? And sometimes it's hard as a German quarterback. Like for me, for example, in Cologne, we usually played only with one import because with injuries or because they couldn't get a second A. So it just puts more pressure on me, where then, you know, I kind of got to take it in and be like, don't get panicked by it. You can't get panicked. You just think, okay, this is different. Why is it different? Okay, we have one less. How can I get out of this situation? How can I profit from the situation even? And I think that's how I usually got through. But what I felt, maybe different things, like more pressure, I felt that still people don't respect the German quarterback as they did in America. And I think with my stats and what I did last year, and the amount of coaches didn't even getting back to me when I said I was maybe thinking about playing for you.
Right.
I felt like you guys, like, didn't you watch me last year? Didn't you watch me play against you, by the way, as well? And I don't want you to need to tell me I'm great. I don't need that. It's just like a thing, like, you don't have an interest at all. You don't even want to get on the phone. I'm like, all right, man. It's like, okay, I see how it is. So it's just a thing to still prove and go out there and prove it, and prove that I can do it, that we can do it as German quarterbacks. I think Marco was this, and Marco didn't even get his respect. I mean, Marco is GFL, but Marco won every game, went to German Bowl 4 times, European champion, and even him, he didn't get his respect. People always use an excuse for telling why he was successful instead of just acknowledging and accepting he was successful. So it's just a thing to go out there and do it over and over and over again.
Absolutely, man. I mean, I love exactly what you said. It's for some reason, I guess, just because the nature of how the game is developed and, you know, it's an American sport, a German quarterback has to do so much more to get the equal respect of an American quarterback, I feel like. It's just like what you're talking about when you're speaking with some of these coaches or trying to talk about possibly playing for some of these teams. So many people just have it in their mind, and that's what I mean when I kind of talk about the stigma of it. But I think, man, guys like you, guys like Marco are doing so much for the position of quarterback and for other non-American quarterbacks to be coming through, and it's a cool thing to see, man.
Appreciate it. I think especially in this league, I think that what you see is the amount of support you get from all of Europe now, just for playing, just for playing was just so overwhelming, and just so there wasn't even a topic of am I good for the Surge or is it like playing wise, just people are like so happy. And I think with the league seeing that you get so much support and so much value in having local players and especially quarterbacks in the league, that I don't know, just pushes your team from a fan standpoint, maybe helps a lot.
100%, man. And I remember seeing this week online, like, you know, I posted a bunch of stuff online, videos and podcasts, and there were so many comments. Get Jan on the podcast. Can we talk to Jan? I want to hear from it. Yes.
I appreciate it.
A lot. So exactly. The fans, I mean, the quarterback, just by nature of the sport, it's the most important position. I mean, you can't argue that, and it is very often kind of the team runs through the quarterback, and to have the quarterback be a homegrown person, just like you said, is so cool for fans of European football. I mean, this is the European League of Football.
I think at the end of the day, you get the biggest part of it is you make football closer to everybody in Europe. Like everybody realizes, like, okay, so quarterbacks say it's the most important position. Right. So if it's only Americans, it feels like a European is not capable of doing that. For a fan as well, saying the fan itself is like, we're still so far away from what's going on over there.
Absolutely.
I think with having European quarterbacks and me going on the mic and like just talk easy in German, they're like, all right, we're getting closer. We're closer to this game now because the person who has the ball in his hand is a German. He's closer to me than maybe an American is. So. Exactly. And as I said, man, I understand why people have American quarterbacks, just to say it's like there's a lot of responsibility. You get great quality, you get great leadership, you get a lot of guys who just, you know, help you a lot with playbooks and everything. And I understand all of it, but I think just the benefit and having German quarterbacks sometimes can be more fun for everybody.
Absolutely, man. And it's just like, imagine the young German kids, the 10-year-olds, the 11-year-olds who are starting to play football, and they're seeing a German quarterback succeed in the ELF. You're like, man, I could be that guy.
Yeah.
I could be. And just like you said, that's closer to them. That's something that they can touch and see.
Or like phrase it different, there shouldn't be a reason why I couldn't be that guy. There's not a reason. It's only myself. It's my capability. It's my abilities. And if I can be as good as this guy, so this was me when I saw Marco playing, I said, if I can be close as good as Marco by performance, by reading, by being poised on the field, there shouldn't be a reason why I should be on the bench, and that should be my standard. And I think that's what you have to show people. You shouldn't be a quarterback just because you're German, and you shouldn't hand those jobs to Germans. But if you have a certain level, like get closer to me or Marco, you should be on the field, and you should play a guy like that. There's no reason to not play the guy.
Absolutely. Your nationality, almost like it shouldn't matter. It's if you're good enough as skill-wise, that should be your quarterback.
If my name would be Jimmy Johnson, I think I had a shot of playing here, you know?
Exactly. Just your standard, basic American name. Man, I love that. It's fascinating, and it's so true, and I think it's super important. Okay, so let's back up a little bit and go back to that first year in the ELF. You guys had a lot of success, made the playoffs. How did that feel to be able to go through that season? And it's the inaugural season of this new cool league, and you're one of the teams that makes it to the playoffs. You're a German quarterback doing this. How did that feel?
It was lots of fun, especially because you see that it it was the first time the sport got really marketed in all of Europe, and made a big splash. Not only in Germany, but like in other countries, even in countries where we didn't have a team, like Switzerland or the UK. You got a lot of followers, and all the splash behind it was just really cool. I think playing-wise, the inaugural season was the first season where the ELF wasn't really the strongest league in all of Europe. I think the top teams could compete with everybody, but you couldn't truly say, oh, Frankfurt would have beaten Innsbruck, Frankfurt would have beaten the Unicorns, or Dresden or whatever. They could have, but it wasn't sure.
Absolutely.
But it was cool to be part of it, and especially, and what most special for me was like the All-Star game, where we had a big gala. We practiced with everybody. We had like award ceremonies. Like everything was paid for, kind of.
Yeah.
And it felt like, I wouldn't say it felt like the NFL, but I felt like this is what it must feel like. Like you get like pictures and videos and interviews, and people ask you about the season. It's just a nice thing. You get to chat a little. I just think that was cool. And I was like, I told the Zoom and other guys as well. I was like, all this playing is cool, but stuff like this just makes it funny and cooler. Just funny. Like if you get to know me, I laugh a lot. I laugh a lot of stuff. If I'm in a pile and the quarterback sneak, I laugh. Or if something funny happens on the field on the camera, I'm easy about it. And I think just there's so much more funny stuff going on with all that extra hype around the game.
Exactly, man. It's just it frames the game in and presents it in such a cool, entertaining way. I mean, it's the best sport in the world. It's just incredible for guys to play. It's incredible for fans. And so to be able to make that connection of such an incredible sport, and it's a high level and getting higher level every year out here in Europe, and to be able to present it to the fans in this way and make the experience for the players a certain way and have these awards ceremony and the gala and everything. And speaking of which, you won an award. Was it at the 2021?
Yeah.
Can you tell the audience what this was?
They gave me the award for the Man of Honor, which is like the Walter Payton Award for doing something, what's the gemeinnützig? Something social.
Service?
Yeah, like something serviceful. We had the big floodings in North Westfalen and Rheinland-Pfalz.
Right.
And we wanted to collect some money, and I just kind of took some responsibility for collecting money or like helped in those areas. But to be honest, like all my friends helped. Like outside of football, all my friends helped, and we collected money. I just came up with some stuff because I work in media, so I said, hey, let's do this and this and this to collect some money. So behind the scenes, I didn't know there was an award for it, but behind the scenes they said, well, do you have players that do stuff like that, which we can award, who are like an example to people? So they gave me the award. I wish they would have told me before, because I got drunk at the gala. It was free drinks. It was before we got food, and I was watching. Nice anecdote. So I was sitting right next or behind Stefan Kösling, the head coach of Frankfurt, and he's a big FC Cologne fan. I'm a big FC Cologne fan, and we watched the game. So me and him just watched the game during the gala. I got drinking beer, drinking wine, and I literally watched the game. And I don't know who was next to me. I think it was Drain. Was like, hey, you should stop. And I'm like, why? It's like, I watch the game, have a great time. And it's like, hey, you gotta get up the stage in a second. Like,
did you have to give a speech?
I have to give a speech.
How did your speech go? Was it all right?
I think it was all right.
Yeah?
I think I did it right. My dad was. I even did it in English.
Really?
Partly. Yeah, I think I even did it in English.
Were you in maybe that sweet spot of enough beers where you just like confident but not slurry?
I hope so.
Okay.
I know I wasn't after.
We have to go check the tape and see how the speech is. But that's really cool, man. That's also a very cool side note of all of this. It's like the equivalent of the Man of the Year award from the NFL, kinda. Which is very cool, man. That's an awesome honor. Okay, so then 2022 season, you're back to Cologne after you guys made it to the playoffs. This season was not as successful. Can you talk about kind of what was different maybe in this second season, or what quote unquote went wrong to not find the same success you guys found in the previous year?
I mean, first of all, there was more competition.
Yes.
So it was way harder to get to the playoffs. I think more competition and the same spots of playoffs. So that makes it way much harder to get to the playoffs. Of course, where us in Cologne, we then got Rheinfire, which they made it harder to recruit. We didn't get all of the best players, or we lost key players in our area, especially on the offensive line, which was kind of, I wouldn't say impossible, but made it harder to build a strong local roster. And then at the end of the day, I think we took a lot of problems we had in 1 year, and we didn't erase them and took them to year two, and thought, well, that's all right, we maybe handle it. And then on top of the problems of year two, we got more problems. Year one, we got more problems in year two, and we just never really bounced back from that, never managed to heal those problems. And I think you play for Hout, so there was never like a downward spiral.
Yeah.
But if you've ever been on a team, if it's just problems are not taken care of, you don't really get out of the hole. You realize, you don't get to the playoffs or whatever. Things just sometimes turn bad. And I think that's what happened to us last year. I mean, stronger competition, but once we're in this downward spiral, we just never got out. We knew the reasons why we were there, and that's, I think, one of the worst things, because everybody knew what was wrong with the organization, with the team. And not seeing the change, we just knew every week, all right, it's gonna be another tough one, another tough game. I don't know, and it was hard to get out of it.
Okay, so the 2022 season was not as successful with Cologne Centurions for you. What happened after that season? Did they say to you that they're not going to take you back as the starting quarterback? Was it your decision to leave? Kind of how did that go down?
No, it was my decision to leave. So Cologne and David Drain was always very invested in keeping me to Cologne, and I would say he was very close to me all the time. I think I had a lot of info, a lot of other players didn't get about the organization, and it was a central stone of his recruiting. But after the season, as I said, it just didn't go well. It was a lot of stress. I had to take a lot of responsibility as a quarterback next to the football field, I felt, which then took over to my private life, took over to my professional life and working.
Yeah.
And it was very frustrating to me. So I said, if I don't feel like major change is coming for me, and not saying it's got to be a 180-degree thing, but saying like it's got to be a lot for me and the right things have to happen. But then I realized very quick, it's like, I don't think it's fair for me to keep Coach Drain or the organization like on a hot seat, or not on a hot seat, like let him wait.
Right, yeah.
Like let him wait for too long. So I said, well, I don't think I will get behind. I will generate the energy to come here in November and be the quarterback here, because it takes a lot of energy, a lot of responsibility. You got to come in every day and be ready to take responsibility and be that guy in the spotlight and just perform and win with your team. And I just didn't feel that was going to happen for me, that I'm going to generate that energy, and informed him, I think right after they signed the head coach, and just then didn't have a good feeling about it.
Yeah.
Definitely didn't have a good feeling about it. I said, you know what, if I just going to tell Coach Drain right now, or Dave Drain right now, I just don't feel it. I just don't feel getting pushed behind it. I just think it will bring a lot of bad energy. If like the first thing that happens, I feel like negative about, I said, okay, I will never feel positive about this. So instead of lying to myself or to the team, I just told them, hey, I think you're gonna do a good job. You signed a lot of great guys after, like Christos, or they have great imports as well. But for me, it was just like, you know what, I'm good. Yeah. I'm gonna generate my energy somewhere else.
It's very mature of you to be able to kind of recognize this.
Sometimes I'm mature, man.
Sometimes
I'm mature.
Sometimes you have too many beers before an award speech, and sometimes you're mature.
Yeah.
No, it is like kind of very adult decision, very quarterback polished decision to be able to approach the situation like this. But at this point, you still have the desire to play football, or do you not? I
definitely did, but like I was also trying to manage and juggle my private life, where I also want to be successful in my career, and where I have a lot of energy as well. So my main focus was on, okay, let me settle my work field first, and then see if it turns out that I can play football as well. The downside of this is, if I have coaches call in that want me to move, I'm like, hey, I got this work thing. You gotta wait. Yeah. And coaches typically don't like to wait to sign their quarterback.
They don't like to wait.
It's typically not the easiest thing.
The first one you want to get.
And I had interest. I said there were some teams I got out to, and that didn't get back to me, not at all. And there was teams that got out to me where I then felt like, all right, I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna move. I don't see myself putting the energy in. And then again, I had the same thought of, Jan, you see you're not putting the energy in, you don't feel positive about this, just tell everybody no and wait for the season to happen, because people get hurt, situations change, and if something then pops up and then you have your life sorted out, you can still play. And that's how I kind of went into it, and how I also communicated it to Coach Newman or other coaches that talked to me. I said, you know what, I'm not going to do this, but if anything happens to you and you're still interested, I'm down to play 1 game, 2 games, 7 games, whatever. And said I'm going to keep myself healthy, keep myself fit, and then come in. Wow, that is, and look how it's worked out now. I tore my meniscus in December though, so I then felt like, all right, this is not going well, and then I had no surgery, so I felt like, all right, I felt like it was done. I really felt like it was done. And I didn't feel like I played my last football, but I felt like, shoot, I have a knee surgery. I have everything.
The meniscus was moving all right the other week though in Munich. You had some nice scrambles.
You know what the worst thing is? What? That's the worst part. I haven't been running for 9 months, and I'm not much slower than I was before. Didn't mean I recover well. It just means I'm slow, man. It just really means I'm
okay, man.
I just if I'm at 90%, it doesn't make a difference.
You know who else is slow? Tom Brady. All right, there you go.
But he got 2,000 rushing yards. So
that is true.
I also said I'm going to quit football if I have 500 net rushing yards. This is when I'm
go out on top. It did take Tom Brady like 20 seasons to get those yards, but okay, so. How did it go down then? Were you in contact with Jordan before the season, just as a precaution? You're like, hey, if something happens, give me a call, or was your guys' first contact after the injury from Riley? And
he called me, so I quit Cologne. Jordan thought I was going to stay with Cologne, and then when I quit Cologne, he called me a day after, and then he asked me if I'm down. I told him what the situation is with work, and then it kind of separated and said, well, okay, you know how Coach Newman is. He's very straight, not a lot of words. And he said, all right, cool. And then he asked me again. I said, well, it's not figured out. And I think a week later, Riley signed and got announced. So I was like, and I just texted him, congratulations. If anything happens, I'm still down, still interested to play for you. Right. And nothing happened. And then Riley got hurt, or Riley had injured to his thumb. Yep. Louis Geyer texted me and said, would you be ready to play a week? I said, nah, man, I'm going to a festival, to Splash. Yeah. I got tickets with a friend, with my coworker. No, I'm not leaving. 2 hours later, Coach Newman texted me, and I was like, if Coach Newman texts me, the greatest coach in the last decade in Europe, I won't tell him no. I won't tell. I just, like I said, at least I'm gonna, figure it out and talk to him. And when he talked to me, I just felt, all right, I'm interested. I want to do this, even though I think I'm right at the spot where I can move and play again, where my knees fit, and I think I want and can do this. He gave me 5 hours to think about it. I did breath work, like a 30-minute breath work session, what Coach Frank, my old head coach, told me. Frank, It's a great thing, a clarity in my mind. And at the end of the breath work, I just was sure, all right, you have to do this. You got to do this. And if you don't do this, you're never going to play football again. From that moment on, I called Coach Newman. I said, let's do this. And on Wednesday morning, I came here to the office.
How crazy is that? So you come here on Wednesday for a game on Sunday. You have 5 days as the quarterback to prepare for a game, to lead the offense. How challenging was this? And how was that process working with Coach Newman to get ready for the game against Munich, that first game you played?
It was just fun because because I was away from football so long, and I'm still connected to the game. I'm in the stadium, but the worst part is I can't watch tape anymore. I'm not really part. I'm just an outsider, and being an outsider when you're so interested in everything going on, it sucks.
Yes.
So when it started, my first thing I told Coach Newman when we got off the phone was like, can I get on huddle? Like, just let me watch huddle again. And, watching tape, watching coverages, watching the opponent. And then when we got into the playbook, I just felt I'm locked in, I'm very focused. I'm, listening to everything Coach Newman says, everything he gives me, trying to ask the right questions and trying to figure this out, how we will go 1-0 against Munich, and Coach Newman is just great at putting me and putting the team in favorable positions, putting a game plan together, which we did all week, but at the same time also challenging me. He didn't even, I think he never mentioned once in the whole week of me practicing. He said it to the team. He said in the team, everybody's got to elevate, we got a new QB. Never said to me once though, oh Jan, just be comfortable out there, just have fun. Because you have been away for so long, just, he never said that.
He didn't baby you there.
No, he didn't baby me. He didn't baby me at all. He even he told me before, it's like, you're going to have new plays on game day. There's new stuff we have to do on game day. Be ready for it, and kind of expected it of me. So for me, it was just a thing of, okay, I'm with the coach who always did it with German quarterbacks. I'm in a position with a winning team that wants to push for the championship. It's my game to lose, so just log in. You can do this. You have to do this. Just do what coach tells you. Stick to the game plan, and you'll be fine. And I think at the end of the day, I was saying that I have a great team here, an offensive line, great receivers, great defense as well. Just makes it very chill to play football. I've been very chill, and I told people after I said I can't remember the last time at such a chill game.
Man, that's what talking to you. I mean, we officially met for the first time on Sunday before the game, and I could just feel your energy. You're very relaxed and very chill and just excited and positive energy. It was very clear to see that. And I'm wondering, coming into a position like this, stepping in in the middle of the season, not having all of the season to prepare? In some ways, do you feel like, okay, there's less pressure on me because I don't have the expectations of a guy that's played with this team through the whole season so far? Like, do you feel a little more chill and relaxed because of that?
I think it always depends on yourself and what perspective you put on yourself. I could put the perspective in of it doesn't matter, but at the end of the day, on 1st and 10 in the first quarter, it matters. It doesn't matter if you've been with the team or not. If Coach Newman calls a play, it counts for everybody. You got to perform because it's winning. You win or lose, and that's what it's all about. So it's not about how long have you been there, or you haven't been there for long, so you can lose. That's not what it's about. It's about go on the field and win. And I felt just very comfortable that the position I was in and we were in, we can win. And the week of practice just been amazing. As I said, it was lots of fun. This team has so much positive energy and just such a positivity going around where I was like, I didn't feel like what can go wrong. I haven't been here for so long. I've really felt like what can go wrong. Like I practiced, I know the game plan, I know the plays. There's 1 or 2 signals I don't know, but at the end of the day, I just ask whoever's next to me and I'll be fine. And the last thing I told Coach Newman, I said before the game, I can't even be nervous because every time I think about the game, I'm like, you shouldn't be thinking about the game. You should think about the signals, think about the plays, think about the coverage, because I've been away for so long. So you have to use that, pressure, use it, think about it, and put it into something positive, because I think that's always a thing you can do.
Man, I'm getting hyped up just hearing you talk about coming back and the mentality and how it feels to be coming in.
It's fun, man. I told myself as well, I probably never get to do this again. I think this league is about, and since I came back, it's about experiencing new things.
Right.
And whenever do I get to experience coming to a new team, not preparing much, starting and being on TV in front of 5,000 people, and it's the oldest still standing professional soccer stadium in Germany.
It's a cool stadium.
It's a very cool stadium, very cool. When do I ever get to do? It's just a cool thing. Just experience it and do the best out of it. And I think that's what it should be about, because I won't be rich. I won't be getting rich in money doing this, but I will get rich in experiences and having fun. So that's what it was all about, and what this season will be about. Just go out there, experience all of it, and have fun.
I think that is a great way to end it, Jan. That's phenomenal, beautifully put, and you got me inspired here, man. It's exciting stuff.
Appreciate it, man. I appreciate it.
So
was lots of fun.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast. I mean, I'm so glad that you're in this position right now. It's really fun to already have seen you play one game and jump in here and be a part of the team. And I'm so excited to see what you continue to do and enjoy it, man.
Let's win on Sunday again, right?
Let's go win.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Jan. Thanks, guys.